The warship Blood Crown drifted at the edge of a cold asteroid belt. Its black armor plates were scratched from months of battle. Inside the ship, the smell of burned metal and tired engines hung in the corridors. Warriors of the Grathok Empire, called Space Orcs by humans, moved through the halls with heavy steps. They were proud fighters, built for war, but even they could not hide their weakness. The food stores were empty, and hunger crept through every deck. At the center of the ship sat Princess Kathira, daughter of the alien king. She stood before a wide window of transparent alloy looking at the endless stars. Her tall frame and ridged skin marked her as royal blood. Normally her eyes burned like molten copper, but today they were dull. Her stomach ached. The long campaign had failed, and the supply ships had not returned. She was trained to endure pain, but hunger was a quiet enemy she could not fight with a blade. Kathira thought of her father's words. Victory first, comfort later. He had sent her to command this warship to prove she was worthy of the throne. She had wanted to make him proud. But the campaign against the human colonies had gone badly. The humans had fought with strange tactics, hit-and-run strikes, and sabotage of supply lines. Now Kathira's crew stared at her with hollow eyes, waiting for orders. Her second-in-command, Groz, entered the command chamber. His armor was dented, his tusks chipped, but his back was straight. He bowed. "Princess," he said, "we have scanned a human freighter adrift in Sector 9. It is alone. Its engines are damaged. Easy prey." Kathira turned from the window. "What cargo?" "Unknown. But humans always carry food." Groz's eyes glinted. "We can board it before they call for help. One strike and our bellies will be full again." Kathira hesitated. Boarding a human ship was easy, but it would break the Emperor's current truce. Still, her crew's hunger was growing dangerous. Warriors with empty stomachs lost discipline. She nodded slowly. "Prepare the boarding team. No unnecessary bloodshed. We take what we need and leave." The boarding craft left the Blood Crown like a black spear. Kathira sat in the front, hands gripping the rail as the engines roared. She wore battle armor but no helmet. She wanted the humans to see her face. Her warriors behind her growled quietly, their hunger mixing with battle rage. Through the viewport, the human freighter appeared, a gray, blocky vessel drifting near a pale asteroid. Its running lights blinked weakly. No escort, no defense turrets active. It was a wounded animal waiting for predators. They clamped onto the freighter's airlock with a loud clang. Sparks flew as Kathira's engineers cut through the door. Inside, the human crew waited behind makeshift barricades, weapons raised. Kathira stepped forward, her armored boots echoing. She raised one clawed hand, signaling her warriors to hold. "I am Kathira of the Grathok," she announced in a deep voice. "We take food only. Give it freely and no one is harmed," the humans whispered among themselves. Their captain, a tall man with dark hair and calm eyes, stepped out from behind a crate. He wore a simple flight jacket, but his bearing was steady. "I'm Captain Elias Morgan," he said. "The ship is unarmed. We have supplies, but if you attack, we'll defend ourselves." Kathira studied him. He looked thin compared to her kind, but his eyes were sharp. "We will take what we need," she said again. "You cannot stop us." Elias's lips tightened. Then he did something unexpected. He lowered his weapon and signaled his crew to stand down. "You're starving," he said quietly. "I can see it. Take a step back. Let me show you something." Kathira frowned but motioned her warriors to hold position. Elias opened a crate and lifted out a bright orange fruit sealed in a plastic wrap. "This is from Earth," he said. "High energy, full of vitamins. You look like you need it." The scent hit Kathira's nostrils at once. Sweet, rich, alien, but pleasant. Her mouth watered. Her people's food was dense and salty. This smelled like life itself. She glanced at Groz. He shook his head sharply. "Princess, do not touch it." Human tricks. But Kathira reached out slowly and took the fruit. It felt soft under her armored fingers. She raised it to her mouth and bit. A burst of flavor shocked her senses. Sweetness, moisture, and a strange warmth spread through her. Her body trembled as energy returned to her limbs. She closed her eyes, savoring it. When she opened them again, the humans were still staring, and her warriors looked unsettled. "What is this?" she asked. "An orange," Elias said simply. "We have plenty. If you're hungry, we'll give you crates. No payment needed." Kathira almost laughed. In her culture, generosity was weakness. Yet this human stood unarmed, offering food to his enemy. She glanced at her warriors. Some licked their lips. Groz growled, "Princess, this is dishonor. We must take by force, not beg." She straightened. No, we will accept. She turned to Elias. Why? Elias shrugged. Because no one should starve. Even enemies. For a long moment, the corridor was silent except for the hum of the freighter's engines. Kathira felt something shift inside her, a small crack in the wall she had built around her mind. She thought of her father's endless wars, of the hollow faces of her crew and of this strange human with his calm eyes. They spent hours transferring crates of food to the boarding craft. Kathira supervised, making sure no weapons were smuggled. Her warriors grumbled but obeyed. Some even tasted the human food, their expressions softening. The air of the ship changed from tension to cautious curiosity. Elias walked beside her as the work continued. You're different from the others, he said quietly. Kathira tilted her head. How so? You're trying to keep your people alive without killing mine, he said. Most warlords wouldn't bother. She looked at him. Perhaps I am tired of endless war. Elias nodded but said nothing more. His silence felt respectful, not fearful. When the last crate was loaded, Kathira turned to him. We will leave now. You have saved my crew. I only shared what I had, he replied. But be careful. Your leaders won't like this, her eyes narrowed. They will not know. Elias smiled faintly. They always know, Kathira hesitated. She wanted to say more, to ask about Earth, about human food, about why he was so calm, but she was still a princess of the Grathok. She stepped back toward her boarding craft. Farewell, Captain Elias Morgan, she said. May your path be safe, he gave a small salute. And yours, Princess. Back aboard the Blood Crown, Kathira walked through the corridors as her crew devoured the new supplies. Color returned to their faces. Even Groves ate in secret when he thought no one watched. Kathira stood at the command window again, looking at the stars. Her hunger was gone, but a new ache had started in her chest. A strange, quiet thought. Why would a human give when he could take? She remembered the taste of the orange, the burst of life in her mouth. It was more than food. It was a signal, a message she could not yet read. She knew only that something had changed. Far away, across the void, her father's throne room waited. The alien king did not yet know his daughter had tasted earthly joy. When he learned, his wrath would be great. But for now, Kathira allowed herself a rare moment of calm. She had fed her crew, and in doing so had opened a door she did not yet understand. The stars outside seemed different now, less like distant fires, more like paths leading to something new. The Blood Crown floated in silent orbit above a pale green moon. Inside the warship, life had returned to its warriors. For the first time in many cycles, the smell of cooked food filled the mess hall. Alien soldiers ate in heavy silence, their eyes brighter. They were still warriors, but now they had strength again. Princess Kathira watched them from the upper level of the hall, her arms crossed. The crates of human food had saved them all, but her heart was restless. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the human captain, Elias Morgan. His calm voice still echoed in her ears. No one should starve, even enemies. She wondered why that sentence felt more powerful than any blade. Her people had taken much from humans, yet this man had given without fear. It was a strange power, and she wanted to understand it. Groves appeared at her side. His tusks were polished, but his face was hard. Princess, he said, we cannot live on human food forever. This act dishonors us. The king will demand an explanation. Kathira did not look at him. The king is far away, she said softly. He will not know. He will, Groves growled. Spies travel faster than ships. Our enemies will call you weak. They will say you are tamed by humans. Kathira turned her gaze to him. Let them speak. Our people live. That is all that matters. Groves lowered his head but did not answer. He knew she was right about the food. Yet pride was as strong as hunger in the Grathok Empire. Later, in her private chamber, Kathira examined a piece of the strange orange fruit. She rolled it between her clawed fingers, watching the light play across its smooth skin. The sweetness, the softness, why, it was unlike any food of her world. Her people ate dense meat and bitter roots. Human food was alive with colors and smells. It made her think of warm sunlight, even though she had never seen Earth. She tapped a panel on her desk. The screen flickered to life, showing a message from the ship's sensor crew. A coded human transmission had been detected near the asteroid belt. Elias Morgan was still in the sector. Kathira's pulse quickened. She should not care, yet she felt drawn to him. He had saved her crew when he could have fought. She wanted to know why. On the human freighter, Captain Elias was also thinking of her. He sat in his small sea. The blood crown hid in the shadow of a cold, silent moon. Its lights were dim, its engines quiet. Inside, Princess Kathira walked the main corridor with long strides. Her armor was dented from the fight at the mining station. Every step echoed like a drumbeat. She had crossed a line she could never uncross, fighting her own kind to protect a human. Now she was an outlaw without a public sentence. Her crew felt it too. Warriors avoided her gaze. Some still chewed human food, grateful for the life it gave them, but they whispered behind her back. Others polished their weapons, eyes full of anger. Kathira reached the command deck. Groz stood waiting. His face was grim, his tusks darkened with ceremonial paint. "You have made us traitors," he said softly. She did not flinch. "I saved us. If I had given Elias to the king's enforcers, they would have killed him and taken us too. We are alive because I fought." Groz's jaw tightened. Alive but dishonored. The king's word is law. Kathira stepped closer until their faces were inches apart. The king's word does not feed us. The king's word does not stop our hunger. We are stronger now. Can you not feel it? He did not answer, but his eyes flicked to the crates stacked along the walls. They still held human food, bright packages among the dark metal. Even Groz had eaten it. He looked away. In a small cabin near the lower decks, Captain Elias Morgan sat on a bench bolted to the floor. The walls hummed with the deep pulse of alien engines. He had been given a guest quarter, but the guards outside were not friendly. He had risked everything by coming aboard the Blood Crown. Yet despite the tension, he felt strangely calm. He remembered how Kathira had stood between him and her own warriors, blade raised. He had seen something fierce and lonely in her then, a spark of change. Elias opened his datapad. Messages from his own crew scrolled across the screen. Maribel was managing repairs to the freighter and keeping the rest of the human crew calm. They were hidden at another asteroid waiting for his signal. He thought of Earth, of oceans and forests and markets full of fruit. He wondered if Kathira could ever see them. Could a Greythawk princess walk on Earth without fear? He did not know. Days passed quietly, but tension grew. Kathira started secret meetings with her science officers. They tested human seeds and food under alien conditions. In sealed labs, green sprouts began to grow in nutrient baths. Alien engineers learned how to copy human soil mixtures and light patterns. For the first time in Graphic history, a plant grew aboard a warship. Kathira visited the lab every day. She would stand beside the glass tanks and watch the tiny leaves tremble in the artificial air. "So small," she whispered once. "Yet strong." Her chief scientist, a thin Grathok named Sareth, adjusted the lights. "They grow quickly, Princess. If we can build larger farms, we can feed thousands." Kathira nodded. "Good, keep working. No one else must know." But of course others already suspected. Warriors carried rumors like fire and dry grass. Some said the princess had found a new weapon in human food. Others said she planned to sell them all to Earth for gold. The truth was stranger than either story and more dangerous. Groz confronted her again in the strategy room. "The King's fleet moves," he said, pointing at a star map. "Scouts report 3 dreadnoughts near our sector. They search for you." Kathira studied the map. Her father had wasted no time. "Then we must move faster," she said. "Faster to what?" Groz demanded. "We have no allies, no supply chain, no safe world." Kathira turned to him. "We have ideas. And ideas are stronger than blades." Groz stared at her, his broad hands tightening. "You sound like a human." She smiled faintly. "Maybe I do." Meanwhile, Elias spent his days speaking with some of the younger warriors, those curious about humans. He showed them small gadgets from his ship. A hollow projector of Earth's oceans, a small solar lamp, a recording of human music. The warriors watched the images in silence. Some smiled shyly at the sounds. Elias spoke slowly, using simple trade language. "We grow food in many places. Even deserts. Even in orbit, we share. We trade." A young warrior named Tal tilted his head. "Why not take? Taking is easier." "Because taking creates enemies," Elias said. "Sharing creates friends. Friends last longer." The young ones whispered to each other after he left. The seed of an idea had been planted in their minds. One night, Kathira came to Elias's cabin. The guards outside shifted but did not stop her. She stepped inside, closing the door. "You are safe?" she asked. "As safe as I can be," he said. "Your people glare at me like I'm poison, but no one has tried to kill me today." She gave a small smile. That is progress. They sat across from each other. For a moment neither spoke. Then Kathira said quietly, I am building something new. Farms aboard ships. Food that does not depend on raids. But I cannot do it alone. Elias leaned forward. You want my help? Yes, teach my scientists. Show them your methods. Help me give my people another way. He nodded slowly. If we do this, your father will call it treason. He already does, she said. Elias looked at her and saw the weight on her shoulders. Then let's do it, he said softly. Let's build your farms. Weeks passed. In hidden bays of the Blood Crown, new hydroponic gardens grew. Alien lights glowed on rows of plants. Human nutrient gels mixed with Greythawk minerals. The crew smelled fresh greenery for the first time in their lives. It felt like breathing a new kind of air. Some warriors began to soften. They brought their children, the few aboard, to see the green leaves. Others became harder, calling it betrayal. Fights broke out in the lower decks. Kathira put down the unrest with firm but measured words. We are Greythawk, she told them, strong enough to change. Still, she felt the shadow of her father across every star. The king's fleet was moving closer. He had sent a message across the void. Bring me the human. End this madness. Return to honor. Kathira read the message alone in her cabin. She crushed the data tablet in her hand until sparks burst from it. She could not obey. But neither could she ignore him forever. Groves came to her with another report. Our scouts intercepted a coded order from the king, he said. He commands you to capture Captain Elias and deliver him alive to his throne ship. He promises forgiveness if you obey. Kathira closed her eyes. The choice lay before her like a blade. If she obeyed, her life and rank would be restored. If she refused, she would be hunted until she died. Princess, Groves said softly, there is still time. We can end this now. She opened her eyes and looked at him. Do you believe in what we are building? Groves hesitated. His broad shoulders shifted. I believe our people are hungry, but I do not believe the king will ever change. Then we must change him, she said. Groves stared at her, then bowed and left. For the first time, Kathira saw doubt in his stride. That night she walked alone to the hydroponic bay. She stood among the plants, touching their leaves. The smell reminded her of the orange she had first tasted. A small human gift, now a field of green in an alien ship. She felt a strange warmth in her chest. It was more than survival. It was a future. Elias joined her silently, stepping between the rows. It's beautiful, he said. It is fragile, she replied. Like a seed before the storm, he looked at her. The king sent orders, didn't he? Yes. You're not going to obey. No. He placed a hand on the edge of a planter. Then you need allies. She nodded slowly. Humans. Maybe some. Maybe even some of your own people. There's always someone who wants a different path. They stood together in the green light. For a moment the war felt far away. But far away in the throne chamber of the Greythawk Empire, the alien king watched the stars on his command screen. Reports of his daughter's defiance burned through his network. He slammed his fist onto the arm of his throne. She forgets who she is, he growled. Bring her to me. Advisors bowed low. The king's fleet was already on the move. Back aboard the Blood Crown, Kathira prepared for what came next. She ordered secret channels open to human colonies offering trade for technology and seeds. She sent coded messages to Greythawk outcasts and younger captains, inviting them to see the new food and a new way of life. Some replied with interest. Others sent threats. In the mess hall, younger warriors argued with older ones. We do not need raids. One shouted. We can grow. Another slammed his fist. We are warriors, not farmers. The argument turned into a brawl until security pulled them apart. Kathira watched from the upper level. She saw both fear and hope in their eyes. She realized the rebellion had already begun, not with guns but with ideas. Seeds of change were growing, as surely as the plants in the hydroponic bay. That evening she called Elias to the command deck. Stars drifted on the giant screen. The king will attack soon, she said. We must be ready. He folded his arms. What's the plan? She looked at him, her copper-bright eyes steady. We build a sanctuary, a place where Greythawk and human can work together, a place the king cannot starve. Elias gave a slow smile. Then let's build it. Kathira turned back to the stars. She had once looked at them as a battlefield. Now she saw them as fields waiting to be planted. The asteroid outpost of RX-19 lay half buried in shadow. Its surface was pockmarked with old mining tunnels and the scars of abandoned machinery. The station had long been deserted, but it was perfect for a secret meeting. Princess Kathira hovered above the landing pad in a small shuttle, her fingers tightening on the controls. Every muscle in her body was tense. Today was a risk and perhaps the greater. The hidden orbital station above the gray moon had become a small hub of life. Crates of human food lined the storage bays. Hydroponic gardens glowed faintly in the dim corridors, and alien engineers worked alongside humans for the first time in history. The Blood Crown hovered silently nearby, a black shadow against the stars. Its crew still whispered and grumbled, but life had returned to them. Hunger no longer ruled their actions. Princess Kathira walked through the station's corridors with deliberate steps, observing the activity. Warriors carried trays of newly grown vegetables. Scientists monitored nutrient tanks, and young aliens were taught how to plant seeds in small soil beds. The room buzzed with cautious excitement. Groves followed at a distance, silent for once. Even he had to admit the progress was astonishing. The princess had turned survival into something more than strategy or combat. Kathira stopped before a bay where human engineers were teaching graphic technicians how to adjust nutrient mixes and regulate artificial sunlight. She watched a small alien boy carefully pour water over a tray of sprouts. The boy smiled shyly at the attention, and Kathira felt a strange warmth inside. These tiny plants represented more than survival. They were a new way of life. Elias Morgan stood nearby, examining the hydroponic tanks. He ran a hand along the edge of a tray and watched the green leaves tremble under the artificial light. He had never imagined he would be teaching aliens how to grow earth plants. Yet here he was, part of a fragile alliance built on trust and necessity. "You've done well," he said to Kathira, his voice low. "Your people are adapting faster than I expected." Kathira nodded. "They survive when they learn. Hunger makes soldiers obedient, but knowledge makes them strong." Elias glanced toward the corridor where Groves stood. "Not all of them are convinced yet," he said. Kathira's eyes followed his gaze. Indeed, a few warriors lingered in shadows, arms crossed, faces drawn with suspicion. "They will follow," she said softly. "Some sooner, some later. Change is never easy." In the command deck, Kathira reviewed star charts and communication logs. Reports from her scouts indicated the alien king's fleet was moving closer. 3 dreadnoughts had been deployed to the sector, each one bristling with weapons and ready to enforce the Emperor's will. Groves entered the room, his face a mask of concern. "Princess, the king is close. He will know about this station soon. We must prepare." Kathira's gaze did not waver from the screens. "We prepare not to fight, but to survive and protect what we have built," she said. "Our people will not starve, and the humans will not be harmed. That is our mission." Groves grunted, unconvinced, but he did not argue. He knew her resolve was unshakable. Meanwhile, on the human freighter, Elias and his crew prepared for possible engagement. Though the alliance was tentative, trust had begun to grow. Crew members who had once viewed the Grathuk with suspicion now worked alongside them, learning alien customs, sharing meals, and even exchanging small gifts of food. Maribel Reyes stood at the ship's controls, watching the stars. "This is crazy," she muttered. "We're teaching aliens how to grow earth plants while the Emperor hunts us. If he finds out, we'll all be dead." Elias smiled faintly. "It's not crazy. It's necessary. Survival is not just about weapons. It's about ideas. And Kathira has an idea that can change everything." Maribel shook her head but did not argue. She knew he was right. For now. Weeks passed and the orbital station flourished. Small gardens spread across multiple bays. Humans taught graphic engineers about earth farming techniques, and warriors began to understand the power of knowledge alongside strength. Kathira supervised every step, her presence commanding respect and quiet admiration. Yet the shadow of the alien king loomed over every decision. Kathira received coded transmissions from scouts warning her that the Emperor was aware of the station and the alliance forming there. Each message brought a mixture of dread and determination. Her father would not tolerate defiance. He expected obedience, not innovation. But Kathira had tasted something more valuable than fear or hunger, the taste of choice. She could not return to the old ways. One evening, Kathira and Elias walked through a newly planted corridor of hydroponic gardens. The soft glow of artificial light reflected off the alien metals and the green leaves, creating a strange, beautiful scene. "We've accomplished something remarkable," Elias said quietly. "Even if the king discovers it, we've shown that cooperation is possible." Kathira glanced at him. "Cooperation is fragile. One wrong move and it all collapses." He smiled faintly. "That's why we prepare. We make the fragile strong." They stopped beside a tray of small sprouts. Kathira crouched and examined them, brushing a leaf between her fingers. "Life is patient," she said. "It grows slowly, but it grows. That is a lesson for warriors." Elias nodded. "And for humans too," he said. "We fight, we survive, but we also grow." Kathira looked up at him, a silent understanding passing between them. They had begun to build something far greater than any army or fleet, an alliance based on survival, trust, and shared purpose. However, tensions continued to rise. Some Greythok warriors resisted the changes, still clinging to old ways of raiding and conquest. They whispered to each other, calling Kathira a traitor, Elias a dangerous human, and the station a symbol of weakness. One such warrior, a tall, broad alien named Tharok, confronted her in the central bay. "Princess," he growled, "this is dishonor. You trust humans. You teach them our secrets. The king will destroy you for this." Kathira faced him without fear. "Tharok," she said calmly, "we survive because of knowledge, not fear. The king will punish those who cannot adapt, but he cannot punish those who think." Tharok's tusks ground together in anger. "You risk everything for them, and I risk nothing for them?" Kathira countered. "I risk for my people, for their survival. You will follow, or you will remain behind, hungry and broken. The choice is yours." Tharok stared at her for a long moment, then turned away, grumbling but not leaving. Some seeds of doubt had been planted even in his heart. Meanwhile, the first signs of human and Greythok cooperation began to bear fruit. Crops grown in artificial soil produced unexpected yields. Some plants even adapted to alien conditions, growing faster and stronger than anticipated. Engineers and scientists from both sides marveled at the results. Kathira walked among the engineers, watching humans and aliens exchange ideas, debate methods, and learn from each other. It was unlike anything she had seen in her empire. War had always been the language of survival. Now conversation and innovation replaced it. Even Groz, who had been skeptical, began to see the potential. "Perhaps," he muttered one evening, "there is strength in this. Strange way of thinking. But peace could not last forever." Scouts brought reports that the alien king's fleet had moved closer, preparing to investigate the sector. 3 dreadnoughts bristling with weapons and crewed by loyal soldiers were on a direct course for the hidden station. Kathira received the message silently. Her pulse quickened, but she did not show fear. She turned to Elias. "The king is coming. He will not forgive what we have done." Elias nodded. "We have options," he said. "Defend, hide, or negotiate." Kathira considered each choice. Hiding would only delay the inevitable. Defending risked lives and destruction. Negotiating was dangerous but offered a chance. "We negotiate," she said. "If he sees what we have built, he may understand." Elias raised an eyebrow. "You think the Emperor will understand anything other than obedience?" Kathira's copper eyes gleamed. "We will show him that survival can be achieved without endless war. That is our argument." Preparations began immediately. Kathira sent messages to scattered outposts, warning allies of the king's approach. Engineers reinforced the station's structural integrity, while warriors trained in new defensive strategies. Human and Greythok crews coordinated together, blending their techniques to create unexpected combinations of tactics and survival. Even the younger, previously rebellious warriors began to see the value of the station. They helped move crates, maintain lights, and ensure crops continued to grow. Ideas had become weapons and knowledge had become armor. One night, as Kathira surveyed the glowing gardens, Elias approached. "Do you think he will accept it?" he asked. Kathira shook her head. "No, but he may see that we cannot fail." "That is enough," Elias smiled faintly. "Then we fight with ideas and hope, not just weapons." Kathira returned his smile, feeling a rare moment of calm. They were caught between 2 worlds, the empire she had been born into and the alliance she had created. Yet she knew that by standing together, humans and Greythok could forge a future that neither side had imagined. And as the stars stretched beyond the station, She felt something extraordinary. The first real hope in a lifetime of war. The stars burned bright above the hidden orbital station. The Blood Crown hovered silently, its hull reflecting the faint glow of artificial lights from the hydroponic gardens below. Inside the station, Princess Kathira walked among the thriving plants, her mind weighed down by the knowledge that the alien king's fleet was closing in. Reports indicated that 3 dreadnoughts, massive and bristling with weapons, were moving into the sector. Kathira's copper eyes scanned the green rows of crops. Each plant represented hope, proof that survival could be achieved without war. She thought of Elias Morgan, the human Captain D. risked Eva,